Malta-Russia relations are still open, though they are less active than ever before. Uber is officially coming to Malta, and Joseph Muscat calls inflation a tax on poverty. All this and more on Lovin Daily. Good evening, Malta and Gozo. It's Jonathan Chile here, joined by one of Lovin Malta's main up-and-coming journalists, Sasha Vella. I'm sure you've read her articles. Now you are seeing her on camera here on Lovin Daily for the first time, so do give her a welcome in the comments section. We've got some big stories to talk about today, as well as some developing stories, so let's jump right into the first one. What is the state of Malta-Russian relations in light of the Ukrainian invasion? So Lovin Malta reached out to Foreign Affairs Minister Ian Borge, as well as the Foreign Affairs Ministry, to kind of get a sense of what Malta and Russia, kind of the communication lines, are they open, are they closed, have they been slowed down because of the Ukrainian invasion? Speaking to Lovin Malta, you know, the Foreign Affairs Ministry was very clear. They said that Malta and Russia have had long-standing relations. However, because of the Ukrainian invasion, things have been less active than ever before, and they made it very clear Malta is very much taking the European Union's stance on Ukraine, condemning Russia's unprovoked military aggression against Ukraine. And they actually closed by emphasizing that if we want peace negotiations to happen, Malta, as well as Europe, needs to have an open line of communication with Russia.
Yeah, so it appears that Malta's foreign ministry is also in line with the position of the European Union, with European Parliament President Roberta Metsola emphasizing that the Union is doing all that it can do to help Ukraine. Metsola said, and I quote, "Our message to Russia has to be that we are not afraid of your threats. We are going to counter your propaganda and narrative." And now on to some lighter news. World-renowned cab-hailing brand Uber has finally announced that it will be coming to Malta. A move that has definitely been widely anticipated by Maltese people and tourists alike. Lovin Malta can reveal that the global ride-hailing firm will be up and running on the islands in the coming weeks, giving drivers and users a whole new platform to turn to. Uber covers around 72 countries and 10,500 cities all over the world, with its services ranging from ride-hailing to food delivery and couriers.
This is a very interesting update that we've got here in Malta. It seems like only a few years ago we just were celebrating getting Bolt and Wolt, two other companies that work in at least the food delivery sector. As it stands, Uber's transport arm is currently in discussions to come to Malta. So it's not like Uber Eats, which is their food delivery service arm, has been mentioned or confirmed. However, I do believe, you know, if the transport arm is successful in Malta, it's only going to take a few months until they roll out with the Uber Eats, which is something that we should celebrate. However, I do hope they are paying attention to some of the stories and tragedies and worker abuse stories that we're hearing from some of the couriers working with both Bolt and Wolt if they do roll out the service in Malta. Moving on to the third story, very similarly related, all about inflation. Former Prime Minister Joseph Muscat, who is an economist by trade, has advised the government to look to the private sector if it wants to find a solution to inflation, which is very much on the rise, both in Malta as well as the world. He actually made a point that inflation was a, quote, tax on poverty, saying that families at the lower end of the income spectrum were suffering more as inflation rises, as it's harder and harder to get those daily goods, the butter, the breads, the milks, and what have you. And he's made it very clear. He believes that the answer to inflation is going to come from the private sector, and he's urged the government to aid and help this to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I personally think we should be very careful when it comes to listening to Joseph Muscat. Let us not forget the way he exited Malta's government when he had no choice but to resign when faced with corruption allegations. And now on to the fourth story of today. LESA has confirmed that it will be investigating a TikTok that went viral over the last few days of a man being fined by an officer while waiting next to his car outside the airport. The video has gotten thousands of views and has captured the attention of many people all over Malta. But just to give you a little bit of context, the man was parked in the attended vehicles section outside the airport, and his vehicle was indeed being attended. Tension started to rise when the man began to record the officer who was trying to fine him, and the officer retaliated by saying that he will be filing a police report for being filmed against his consent.
You know, if you haven't seen the video yet, which has gone viral, you can find it on Lovin Malta's Instagram page, so definitely check it out. You know, the footage is pretty crazy. You're parked, and he's in the car, as Sasha has said, he was attending the car. You're parked in an area that clearly says you can park there if you're waiting for someone to come out of the airport. I've parked in those bays. I'm sure you have, I'm sure many people have as well while waiting for someone to arrive. So I'm not really sure what the LES officer was thinking. It's good that LES is investigating this to kind of figure out, you know, was the officer in the wrong? Was the person in the wrong? Maybe there was something we're not aware of. Either way, what's interesting is that the video ends with the person in question telling the officer, see you at the tribunal, which seems that he's very much going to contest this fine. So we'll definitely be looking out to see how this whole situation is resolved. And moving on to the final story today, a bit of a strange story, something that I'm sure appeared on your feed, just so an hour later the clarification appeared as well. Italian super football agent Mino Raiola was very briefly confirmed as dead by the world's media, just so he himself would take to Twitter to clarify that no, in fact, he's not dead. He is battling an illness, if I'm not mistaken, it is cancer, but he's alive, and he actually took to Twitter to say, listen, for anyone that's wondering what my health status is, it's, quote, pissed off. This is the second time in 4 months that they've tried to kill me, which, you know, at least there's a bit of humor in this from his end. I can't even imagine what it must be like, you know, facing an illness, battling this illness in your bed, and then all of a sudden you look at the news and everyone from the Daily Mail to the Mirror to Eurosport as well, reporting that, you know, you've died, and they're rolling out the obituaries. For a quick reminder of who he is, Raiola represents some of the biggest names in modern football, including Erling Haaland, Paul Pogba, Marco Verratti, Gianluigi Donnarumma, as well as Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So good to hear that he's still alive and well.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many rumors that we hear every single day, and this is exactly why it's important to do your research before you believe anything on the internet. So let's hope that these Italian journalists learn the lesson now. That's all for today. From myself and Jonathan, have an evening full of lovin'.